Welcome to Ponchatoula Live, the show where we make it easy for you to connect with the people of Ponchatoula. I'm your host, Parker Layrisson, and today I've got a fantastic guest. This is one of my favorite people in town. It's somebody that I see every Sunday when he leads our Bible study group before church. He is a father, a husband, a deacon, a professional, much more. He's just a very dynamic person and also just a great guy that's easy to talk to. So, with no further ado, I bring before you my friend Timothy Thibodaux. Tim, welcome to the show.
Hey there, Parker. You're so darn sweet.
well,
You make a guy blush.
well, I meant it, man. You really are. You're an interesting guy. A man with many talents and interests, and just a very bright brain. People that love your dad, your mom. They're well known in this community. Your family goes way back. We kind of grew up in the same neighborhood, many years apart. There's no gray in your beard yet, like mine.
It's coming. It's working
But
on it.
but why don't we kick things off, if you don't mind, with you just telling us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So, um, like Parker mentioned, grew up in Ponchatoula, born and raised in the house that my dad grew up in, and did everything that a regular old Ponchatoula boy does. Went through the Ponchatoula school system, all 6 schools that you go through. Um, and Yeah, graduated high school in 2015, graduated my undergrad in computer science in 2019, um, and then went for a master's degree in business administration immediately after undergrad. But in between that, there was a summer that I went and worked at a church in New York City for a couple months in between my master's and my undergrad. Um, and then got while I was getting my master's, got a job with as a software developer at Lockheed Martin, and I work in automation. So I automate tasks that we don't want people doing because they're boring, dull, repetitive. People get tired, make mistakes. Um, Robots don't do that. They don't need to sleep. Uh,
Right.
Specifically, we are not trying. I am not trying to replace people. I'm not trying to take people's
Well,
jobs. I'm trying to free up their time for more value-adding work. Right.
right.
I'm not the scary programmer that lives in the basement of the company that's automating your job away. Um, but yeah, go to First Baptist Ponchatoula and got ordained as a deacon there this past December, maybe January,
Mhm.
and got married. I've got two two lovely girls, a
2 beautiful
4-year-old and
little
a
girls. They're
she's
just gorgeous and sweet.
they're so darn sweet. A house full of girls, someone in the house is always crying. It's usually me. Um, but yeah, just blessed beyond all measure. And my wife is great. She's a saint for putting up with me. Uh, and I teach the Sunday school class at the church for couples with young kids.
Mhm.
Um, and that's been really good. I think you can tell me, but I think it's been really good and helpful for a section of the population that might not get to
No,
have
it is.
adult conversations.
It's fantastic, and I look forward to digging into that deeper a little bit later
Sure,
in the interview, but I can tell you my wife and I really enjoy it. You do a great job with that.
appreciate it. But
S
that kind of is the 50,000 foot view
Yeah,
of
that's
Tim.
that's the big picture. Well, let's dig in on those early years.
Sure.
You mentioned the church, so let's start there because I know
Hmm.
this is such a big part of your life. You're not only teaching Sunday school, you're serving as a deacon, as you
Hmm.
mentioned. You're on the leadership, of the
Hmm.
church. What's it like to be in that role now, having started at such a young age? Because you grew up in First Baptist Church, right?
I did. So I grew up, First Baptist is the church that I've always gone to consistently. I visited other churches in college and whatnot, but nowhere else ever really felt uh, the same. And I say that to say that I agree with a lot of the churches principles and teachings and whatnot at First Baptist, and that's not necessarily the case at some other churches. But I grew up in that church from the time I was, man, I did the kids choir, and then they started doing like the Christmas spectaculars and such. So I've been in the Christmas spectacular darn near
You've
every
been there
year.
long enough that it's possible you played baby Jesus,
Yeah, right,
some
right,
decades ago, right?
right. Yeah, done the Christmas spectacular every year for the last, how old am I? 28. Shucks, maybe 14 years.
Right.
Um, and that's always been a lot of fun. And now it is an interesting shift, becoming more kind of involved in the church, not just as a member, but uh, a vaguely more leadership position, I'd
No,
say.
look, say it. It's a full-throated reality as a leader.
Sure.
You and Brett and the other young deacons that were ordained
Hmm.
with you are stepping up into a leadership role, and we're grateful for it. It's a wonderful church, but that young blood and young leadership's necessary.
It's
So we're going to
important.
circle back to that in a bit, if
Hmm.
you don't mind.
Sure.
But staying with the early years,
Hmm.
let's talk about what it was like in the Thibodaux house, because your parents are wonderful people. As I mentioned
Hmm.
earlier, folks just love them. Your dad in particular is really well known around here. I knew him
Right.
from the law enforcement community.
Right.
My dad obviously served there forever, and there was an overlap period between them.
Right.
And dad always thought the world of Mr. Vince. And so if you don't mind, tell us about your parents and your grandparents, whomever you want to talk about, but just tell us about your family heritage and what life was like in that family growing up here in Ponchatoula.
Sure. So, um, I grew up in a family of four. My parents, and I have an older sister named Casey, who's 10 years older than me. She currently lives over in Arizona, with two children and her husband Cody. Children Rush and Lila. Um, and So, I wasn't an only child, but I was basically an only child, and so was she, for the longest time. But so yeah, my mom was a substitute teacher, career
Mhm.
substitute teacher, and volunteered at the church, doing like the children's ministry and the nursery and all that. And dad is a hoot, and spent doggone 20, I'm going to get the number of years wrong, but at least 20 years in probation and parole
Right.
as an
Yeah.
officer.
Decades in that.
Yeah, he retired from probation and parole, and then um, went to work for s- the parish. Yes, for the
Right.
parish, as a court liaison. I get the structure of which is which
Yeah,
mixed up
sure. Hey,
sometimes.
let's face it. My kids are in the other room of the house. They're not worried about what dad's doing right now
Yeah,
for work. They don't know the difference between a law firm or a podcast. And
right.
so it's okay that you didn't pay any more attention to your dad's
Sure,
career than I did to mine. It's the nature of it.
sure. But so mom, my parents are a blessing, absolute blessing. Firstly, they've been married for darn near, how old are they? 40 years almost, if not more.
Wow.
Which is a rarity these days.
That's
Um,
something to celebrate for sure.
it is, praise God. And they have just been so good to me and to my sister. They weren't exactly in the most lucrative careers, right? Law
Yeah,
enforcement
they
and
weren't
stuff.
chasing dollars. They were doing public service and
Right.
the Lord's
But
work.
they right. But they always they did the best they could with what they had, and I never felt any particular way, like
Mhm.
missing out or anything like that. Um, uh, my mom being a career substitute made things a little bit challenging for me in school because all of the kids in school
Yeah.
knew Mean Miss Thibodeau, and then they put two and two together and said, "Oh, that's your grandma, isn't it?" No, even worse, it's my mom. And so they gave me. I got into some. I had some issues at school whenever I was younger, kids being
Yeah, that had to
kids.
be a challenge for sure.
Yeah. which we can get into if you don't.
No,
If
I'd
so,
love to
but
hear about it if you're willing to share, because one
yeah,
thing
sure.
I pride myself on our podcast here is that, we let the show go wherever the guests willing to take it, because
Hmm.
that's where the lessons are, right? And the hardship. Well, I've had folks come on this show and tear up, talk about
Hmm.
the most horrible things you can imagine, from
Yeah.
losing a child to losing a business to just, whatever.
Hmm.
So yeah, if you don't mind sharing that, because I know as a dad whose kids are coming up in school,
Yeah.
each grade's a little different. Each class hits a little different. I've had my boys be really excited about some years and not excited about others. And there's
Yeah.
all these issues, from bullying to academic challenges, you name it.
Right.
So yeah, if you don't mind, share those struggles and how you overcame
Sure.
them, because clearly you prospered.
Sure. So, um, I should start by saying, from kindergarten to about 8th grade, I was a weird little kid. Okay,
What
I
do
was
you
a little
mean by that?
I was just awkward, man. I didn't know how
Explain.
to interact with people pretty well. I was a little poorly socialized, all that sort of stuff. I was really shy. Um, didn't talk very much. Wore my pants up really high, partially because mom made me. But so I was a weird kid. Didn't interact very well in school up until high school. Then people started to grow up, and it eased off a little bit. But um, I and mom being a substitute teacher that everyone disliked, and dad being a probation and parole officer who took some parents away sometimes, and the kids
Yeah, so
knew
your
that.
your family was in the business of having to deliver tough love and hard
Yeah,
news to people, and they could lash out, I'm sure, at you as a result.
yeah, yeah. And sincerely, there were instances where kids at school would like I said, they'd connect the dots and say, "Yo, your
Yeah.
dad took my dad away
Oh, wow.
earlier," and uh, it was tough because I was a weird kid, but I was a nice kid. I like to think, at least, um, and didn't really understand why. I didn't have very many friends or anything like that,
Mhm.
um, and uh, I had a few that were very cherished to me, and I remember not really understanding, and I grew up in church and all that sort of stuff, and I have
Right.
friends at church and whatnot. But I there was one period in 8th grade where one of the other older students, like a senior, Philip Danley, if you remember him, if you know him, he's Ed Danley's son, one of four or whatever. But
Mhm.
he got up there one day. The youth minister let him deliver a message, and it was about based in Second Corinthians 12, 7 through 10, uh, where that talks about, therefore, in order to keep me from becoming conceited due to these increasingly marvelous revelations, uh, um, a thorn in my flesh was given to me, a messenger of Satan was sent to torment me in order to keep me from becoming conceited. And 3 times I pleaded with the Lord to take it away from me, and 3 times he responded by saying, "My grace is sufficient for you, because my power is made perfect in weakness. And so therefore I will all the more gladly boast in the trials, the pains, the sufferings, etc. For when I am weak, then I am strong." And hearing that really started to just kind of put some things in perspective for me and give me a different outlook on my experiences in my childhood with school and stuff.
Mhm.
Uh, and especially now as a grown adult, right? Uh, where I understand that, those experiences help make me who I am, and um, God can, how does it go? God can paint. This isn't the saying, but it's something along the lines of God can paint beautiful pictures with crooked lines, or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Um, where the my sufferings as a child, 'cause the bullying was pretty severe at points.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Um, my sufferings as a child helped. What I'm going to say is keep me humble, and that
Mhm.
sounds, whatever, but they helped keep me humble and helped make me into who I am today because,
So that once you married this magically babylicious,
right, right,
beautiful
right.
woman you have now, and you have this great job, working from home and
We see it
beautiful
all work out.
daughters, you're not rubbing it in on everybody,
No,
or
right, 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 right,
you're
right,
not
right,
you're not
right.
treating it as an in your face moment. You're
No,
handling it
no,
humbly as
no.
the Lord would want you to.
Right,
Good for you.
right. No, but sincerely, like, it's very easily I very easily could have turned into someone else,
Right.
Um, but God used those sufferings um, to help make me into the man that I am now, and that uh, um, can be a resource for others that otherwise might not be the case.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I
so
commend you for coming to that perspective. When did you feel that turning? I mean, you mentioned hearing this in this youth,
yeah,
you know,
s- s-
lecture.
yeah,
But when did you kind of feel that you were turning the corner on that, and kind of getting a hold of that narrative?
yeah. So it really, that was kind of like that initial time in eighth grade was like well, hold on a minute, something's starting to make sense here.
Hmm.
And then the throughout high school up to probably senior year, things got better in high school. I learned how to socialize, and I learned
Okay.
how to kind of uh, defuse the situations and things like that. It's hard for people to laugh at you if you laugh at yourself first. I learned a lot of
Right.
self-deprecating humor and all that. But really, I w- I should also note that I was tremendously blessed with an incredibly gracious and patient youth minister at First Baptist
Who
at the
was
time.
that?
His name was Dennis Elzey.
Okay.
He wasn't from here, but he came to First Baptist as a student minister whenever I was as a youth minister whenever I was in eighth grade,
Okay.
and he was there until my senior year, like the second semester of my senior year of high school, where he then had to move on.
Hmm.
Um, but he was very, very formative for me in my walk. I attribute a lot of my um, faith to Dennis and to my really good friend Nick, who was the best man in my wedding, who's was the Sunday school teacher before I started teaching our
Okay.
class.
So tell us more about Nick. If you don't mind sharing the last
Sure.
name and how y'all came to be friends.
Yeah, sure. So Nick, his name's Nick Struby, Nicholas Struby. He's currently, at the moment, he's over in Israel. Him and his wife, they're over in Israel participating in some immersive Hebrew study where they engage fully in the culture and are studying ancient Hebrew and going to all of the biblical sites and um, all sorts of stuff. It's very, very cool.
Well, it's
Uh,
very cool. It's also ambitious and brave in this day and age with security
yeah, I
risk
thought,
you have with going there.
yeah, I thought they were a
Kudos
little
to
crazy
them.
at the time, but God bless them. The Lord has taken care. But so Nick, the church brought him in to kind of fill a gap at the time in the college and career class, that age group that I was coincidentally going into. He was studying at New Orleans Baptist Theological Seminary and uh, was getting his undergrad and then was getting his master's and is now about to begin a PhD in theology. I mean, he's going to get on to me for getting it wrong. He's getting a PhD. It might be in philosophy,
Yeah,
with like a with like a what's it called? Philosophy of religion focus.
sure. So he's
Um,
about to become Dr. Nick. That's pretty cool.
yes, yes, yes. Right now he's just brother Nick. But uh, between the two of them, I have to attribute a lot of my development as a person and as a Christian. where Dennis was very gracious with me in youth whenever I was a weird kid.
Mhm.
And he entertained all of my questions. He really had a strong focus on apologetics, which is um, rational arguments for the faith and
Right.
prove and using reason to prove Christianity and whatnot, or to support Christianity, um, which was obviously very helpful in the college
Yeah.
years.
Well, he probably saw in you what I've seen in Sunday school, which is that you have a very bright but also very logical brain.
Mhm.
You know,
Right,
the brain of a coder, you know,
right, right.
it goes well with that part of theology. If you
Yeah,
don't mind, I'm going to very
sure.
briefly
Yep.
interrupt you here to share. You know, while we're speaking of great people in First Baptist Church history, one of the current folks there that you'll know well, Miss Vicki Graham Allen, the mother of not one but two of our group members, including one of your fellow deacons,
Mhm.
Brett, who I got to know probably 30 years ago when I was his ball coach when he was a little kid.
That's so
But she
funny.
says, great testimony, Timmy. Miss Vicky, thank you for watching the show
Yeah,
and
thank you.
sharing that support with Tim. She also says Ed line up Danley. She commented on that when you were talking about him
Yeah.
earlier. So, Miss Vicky, thank you very much for being a supporter of the show. We always appreciate it, and you're such a great supporter of Tim here. And I want anybody else who may be watching live to know, if you have a comment for Timothy, if whether it's something encouraging like Miss Vicky said, maybe perhaps a question, whatever you have, fire away. If you're watching us live, I'll do my best as host to pull your comment up here, put you on the screen as I have with Miss Vicky, and share your comment with our guests. So again, we're speaking with Timothy Thibodaux. We're talking about his childhood growing up as, you know, a self-proclaimed awkward, or maybe you said weird, you know, kid who's
Weird kid, yeah.
so it's a weird kid. Okay, I want to use your words, not mine. I don't want to
Sure.
be part of the bully crew who's
Yeah,
calling you
yeah, yeah.
names. But you know, I can't imagine how tough that must be. um you know, I grew up in a big family with four brothers, and you know, the downside of that is you might get a few more shiners than a kid in the next
Mhm,
family because you're constantly fighting and jockeying. But there's a strength in numbers element that
mhm.
makes it tough for people to, especially when you have a brother like Bree Larison, you know,
Right,
6'2", muscle bound, all district defensive end. He
right,
was scary long before he started carrying a gun to work. So
right.
nobody maybe mess with us the way they did with you. But I really appreciate you sharing that. If you don't mind, I want to ask you this part, Timmy,
Mhm.
before we, you know, exit
Sure,
the childhood portion of the interview.
sure.
You know, and I'm going to ask this twofold. One, for you as advice to the kid in that situation. Two, for advice for the parent, because you now have seen kind of both roles. But let's start with the kid, because it's something that if a kid's going through that, that kid knows their situation. Perhaps other kids that have been bullied in similar ways, similar circumstances could, but it's really hard for the parent to really know what buttons to press, and you know, what part nurture versus what part, you know, inspiration, or you know, just spitfire, pick yourself up, you know, whatever. So
Yeah.
what advice would you give a kid, you know, whether in the third grade, the eighth grade, whatever, if they're
Mhm,
being bullied, if they're struggling to fit in, if other kids are being mean to them,
mhm,
you know, now you have the benefit of knowing what worked for you, but
mhm.
there's also that hindsight, and we all have a little bit of, well, if I could have done this, maybe it'd have been better. What are your thoughts for kids that are being bullied and how they should react?
Man, that's tough. That
Yeah.
is. So what worked for me, I benefited from age. I kind of just
Mhm.
endured it, until the point where kids stopped kind of naturally being quite as mean. Um, but my my one of the things, whenever kids are picking on you, they want a reaction, right? And I gave a reaction. If you've ever talked to my mom, you know where it comes from. Because mom, you could pick on mom, and she gives such good reactions. So I get it, honestly. But I would react,
Right.
and that, that was the feedback that the other kids were looking for. So they, you know, as difficult as it is, sometimes if you're gonna react, try to minimize it as best you can. And I know that's hard.
Yeah,
but
easier said than done, but you know that's a proven
yeah,
strategy, having used it.
yeah, and also like I I'm fortunate enough to be vaguely quick-witted, I think.
Right. No, I would say
And
very quick-witted. That would be
you're
my
very
tweak.
kind. You're very kind. Um, and so like I said, I learned eventually. I learned if I and this isn't a great solution either. Let me be perfectly clear. But if I kind of beat them to the punch, then I kind of take the win from their sails, right? And then they
Right,
uh,
yeah.
so
No,
that
you
kind of
hear
self
about so many, like, for example, stand-up comics. Kevin
right.
Hart comes to mind. I think he's currently the biggest touring comic in the world.
Yeah.
He sells out giant football stadiums. And if you watch him and learn about his background, it's like he's going to make a short joke before you
Right.
can. He's going to beat
Exactly.
you to the punch, and now he's got the maybe perhaps the quickest wit in the world. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great tip.
Yeah. Just if you if you disarm them and you laugh at yourself, then it 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 kind of takes a lot of the power away.
Yeah, no, there's a verbal judo effect, right? Of
Hmm. Hmm.
using that energy and
Yeah.
co-opting it, so to speak. That's great advice, and I thank you for all of it. Let's shift gears into the parent now, because now you're a dad, and let's hope nobody's bullying your precious little girls. They're so beautiful and tiny.
Yeah.
But if the day comes, because what I hear, I don't know. I'm from a
Hmm.
family of four boys, so I
Hmm.
only had brothers, and I now
Hmm.
have two sons. I know
Yeah.
nothing about women. My wife would be quick to tell you I know very little to nothing about women,
Yeah.
except that I hear these mean girls can be
Right.
way tougher than the guys. So if that day were to come, whether you want to think about it in perspective of
Sure.
your
Sure.
own
Sure.
daughters
Sure.
or think about my little boys or anybody, if it, what advice would you give parents who are up against that?
So it it's really delicate because I knew in my circumstance that if like I never told my parents that this was going on. Um, because I knew they would try to get involved and fix it, and I knew that that would make it worse. Um, and so it's so tough because I know it drove my parents up the wall because
Yeah.
they knew something was going on. Mom
Hmm.
was there, she saw it. Um, um,
Yeah. She would have an ear to the ground as kind of an
right,
inside woman as a teacher.
right, and so it was. I can't imagine. I can't imagine now, but like at the time, I before I had kids, I couldn't imagine being a parent in that situation because it's just so tough, right? Like the
Right.
kid isn't sharing it with you, and there's something going on, but you don't know what, and you trust that there must be a reason they're not sharing it. Um, what I would say is, um, my parents did a really good job. I'm such a sentimental little sod. Um,
I get it, man.
uh,
Look, you got great parents. It's worth
yeah,
being emotional about.
yeah. So, um, my parents did a really good job of affirming me despite um, all those situations. Um, they gave me the tools to um, cope. Um,
Right.
uh, and to like boost confidence, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say, what would those be specifically? Is it encouraging words? Is it
Yeah.
diversions? What works?
So for me, first of all, my parents were just very encouraging, are still very
Right,
encouraging.
yeah.
Um, Encouraging words, just making themselves available. Um,
Being there for you.
yeah, I knew that if I wanted to talk, I could.
Mhm.
Um, and there's a there's a big there's relief in that, you know.
Yeah.
Um, because a
It's
lot of
like an
people.
ace in the hole, you know? It's a break
Yeah,
glass of fire. You know that if you get to a point you can't, take it, you've got that extra layer of support that you're not
y-
using yet.
yeah, and even just more than that, like it helped not feel so alone, right?
Great point.
Um, because a lot of people suffer by themselves.
Yeah.
Um, and so they made themselves available. So make yourself available to your kid. Don't push it. If they want to tell you, they'll tell you. Um,
Yeah.
but make yourself available. They also put me in. I played a couple different sports. I'm not the most athletic guy. I'm probably average
I
now.
can I can relate to that.
Yeah.
I was once introduced by my childhood coach to the Ponchatoula Kiwanis Club. This
Uh-huh.
was about 20 years ago, and he told the club that I was his only player that peaked in the 5th grade. There were a lot of
Man.
laughs with that, but, it stung a
Yeah.
little because it was real. But,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I can relate to that.
So I played like I played baseball whenever I was younger, and I was
Yeah.
okay. Kids being kids, these were the same kids I went to school with, so like I got hit with the ball a lot. Um, uh, so baseball wasn't really my thing after like the first or second year
Yeah.
of kids pitch.
Yeah, you
But one
picked a
thing,
sport where they couldn't weaponize the equipment,
right,
right?
right. So instead, my parents opted to put me in karate, and so I learned to fight instead.
Nice, nice.
uh, and that was really good. That was really, really helpful for me because number one, it not there's the obvious. It taught self-defense, and I did that for 18 years, and I want to do it again, and I plan on doing it again with Valera whenever she gets a little bit
Oh,
older.
very cool.
Um, but so it taught self-defense and the confidence that comes along with that, but also at least with Joey Geluso, the fella in Ponchatoula that does it right there across from the library, he puts a lot of emphasis on the building of character through martial arts. Um, and so like every time at the end of every training session, you bow and you recite the motto of the dojo, which was like seek perfection of character, respect others, do no harm, like that sort of stuff.
Mhm.
Um, so all of that was really helpful as well.
Yeah.
Uh,
So you're telling basically a localized Karate Kid story here.
yeah, sure,
You
yeah.
know, in that, like, bullied, check, great sensei. I'm hearing about the
Mhm,
Mr.
mhm,
Miyagi of
mhm.
Ponchatoula. Joey's one
Yeah,
of the guys we're gonna try to get on our show
you
after the
should. He's
summer breaks
great.
up. In fact, I was talking to someone this week about that, and trying to book him. And then also, hey, this happy ending where, in
Yeah,
Karate
right,
Kid, he gets the girl.
right.
And so, we're gonna get to that part of your story here in a
Sure.
moment. So that sounds like a great resource. I want to
Yeah.
thank you, Timothy, for sharing all this. And I know we're kind of detouring from things we may have teased in the show, but it's just so important. We never know who will watch this show,
Mhm.
whether it's a parent with dealing with that. I don't think there are many kids watching, but
Yeah, sure.
but who knows, man?
Right,
You are one of our younger guests, so maybe you're
right.
going to draw a younger audience. But I really appreciate you kind of bearing your soul and being real
Sure.
about that, because I know it dredges up some painful memories, and but it's a real genuine opportunity to help people.
Yeah.
And I thank you for that. If you don't mind, let's
Mhm.
turn the page to some more positive stuff. So
Sure.
before we exit your childhood, you mentioned soon to be Dr. Nick, your
Uh-huh,
best
yeah.
man at your wedding and kind of best buddy. Are there any other, these could be friends,
Mhm.
contemporaries, or older inspirations? Just who were the bright lights in your childhood before we leave that part of your story? And obviously, there are too many to name. I'm
Yeah,
not asking you to
yeah.
give us a comprehensive list, but just who comes to mind when you think about the folks, not the folks that bullied you and
Mhm,
made you,
mhm. Sure, sure, sure.
frown, but who made you smile when you were a kid? And who do you look back on with delight?
Sure. So, um, Dennis, the youth pastor, Nick was more college, but very instrumental. Um, m- my parents, um, sentimental stupid sod.
Hey, while you mention your parents, can we give a shout
Yeah,
out to Daffy Duck? Your dad does the best
yeah,
Daffy Duck
he
impression,
does.
probably outside of Hollywood. So
He does.
I'm
He
sure that helped
does.
you from time to time ease the tension.
It did, and I like to do impressions and stuff too. I like to putz around with acting and stuff, and so my Daffy Duck isn't as good as his, but Master, Master wants to help us. Master is a
Great
friend.
Gollum, though.
I'm,
Wow. Or
I'm
was
not.
that Smeagol? My bad.
I'm not listening. I'm not listening. Nobody loves you. What you know. Um.
That's
Uh.
fantastic.
So all of the staff of the church at the time, Cranddaddy, Dr. Cranford. I should be more
Yeah, that's
formal.
kind of neat. So you kind of got to grow up in the church with Dr.
I did.
Cranford there the whole time. What a
Yeah.
tremendous leader he is for that organization. Folks, we're talking about, of course, Dr. David Cranford, the pastor of
Right.
First Baptist Church of Ponchatoula. He's been on the show several times. So, check out, just search for his whether you're on YouTube or Facebook, you can watch his interview. Fantastic person. Yeah, I'm sure he was it sounds like he
Yeah.
was a tremendous influence on you.
Yeah. Him, brother Chip, who's, man, you want to
Yeah.
talk about like the end of an era, he's getting ready to retire. The voice of Ponchatoula First Baptist getting ready to
Yeah, the
go.
music minister. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's done that forever. So
Yeah,
that
he put up with me a lot doing all the Christmas plays and all that sort of stuff. Um, Sensei Joey, Joey Geluso, Sensei
right.
Darren, kind of partners at the dojo. Darren Tanner. Um, there's just so many, but
Yeah, well, no,
those would have to be
look,
it. Yeah.
too many to name, but I wanted you to at least have the opportunity to share
Hmm.
a few, and I appreciate you doing that. So let's move forward. Next chapter in your life. You have this foundation here in
Hmm.
Ponchatoula, growing up right here,
Hmm.
downtown Ponchatoula with fantastic parents,
Hmm.
but real challenges at school, the kind of character
Yeah.
forming stuff we've been chatting about. And one thing you never, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong.
Sure.
One thing I'm not aware of you ever struggling with was academics. You're clearly precocious. Am I wrong there? Because I know you excelled later. So tell me about the
Sure.
academic journey and how you ended up being so good in college and grad school and led you to where you are.
Sure. So mom rode me like a horse. uh, there was no, because again, she was a substitute teacher.
Right.
All of the teachers knew her. My parents were very, very active in my education. Um, and I think that I had the natural capability to excel, but I needed the push uh to do it, and
Yeah, the
that's,
structure, the initiative. Yeah.
yeah, and that's where mom came in, I think. And
Mhm.
so she would really every night, as soon as we get home, do your homework. No nothing till you're done with your homework. And then, like, whenever we had vocabulary tests, a lot of people study with, like, the parents telling them, here's the definition, what word is this, or something like that. And it was the
Yeah.
opposite with mom. Mom would tell me, all right, Timmy, tell me every definition of this word. And there's like four definitions, and it's word for word. You need to get it right.
Yeah.
If you misspeak, you do it again.
Yeah. So
So
yeah,
she was
you
tough.
didn't get the easy side of the
No.
flashcard where you just had to name the
Yeah,
word.
exactly. Yeah, no. And so I never s- I never st- I never struggled in school in that regard. Seeing, like, high school started to get a little bit trickier, but that was because I was taking things like AP Physics and
Right.
whatnot. Uh, but generally, I finished high school with like a 3.997. I made 1B on AP
Wow.
Physics
Yeah.
for one semester, and
Mhm.
then college computer science undergrad, I did like a 3.8, I think, and then
Wow.
in my first master's, my MBA, I got a 4.0, and I'm
Goodness,
going to go
man.
back for a computer science master's within the next
Yeah.
year. Um, so I
Do me a favor, don't share that with your daughters, because those poor
yeah,
kids, man, that doesn't leave them much leeway in the terms of living up to dad's,
dude,
I'm married to someone with very similar grades. My wife's made
yeah,
2 Bs her entire life, that's
yeah,
including college and getting her master's degree at LSU,
yeah.
and, yeah, that's a lot to live up to, man,
My
but
my
wow,
girls
good
are
for you.
brilliant.
That's
It's
really impressive.
crazy. Thank you, thank you. My girl
So
Valera is so darn smart. It's
oh, yeah, yeah,
crazy.
you clearly she's very precocious, and,
Yeah.
but let me give a shout out to Mama Lark there, job
Uh-huh.
well done,
Yeah.
I'm sure there was a lot of back and forth, and
Oh, it was
no kid wants
rough,
to be first,
I as a kid, I
but it
didn't
worked.
like it. As an adult, I appreciate the benefits.
Yeah. So
I'll say
so
that.
as you get out of your shell,
Sure.
you mentioned kinda turning the corner, this 8th grade,
Mhm,
sermon of sorts, the scripture, it reaches you in a way, it sounds like
mhm,
you had
mhm,
never been
mhm,
reached before.
mhm,
It begins this transition, and you talked about it getting better in high school. Once you get to college, I mean, how does
mhm.
social life, I meet you, you're in your 20s, you have a
Right.
beautiful wife, these children, all these friends. How did you get from there, what you've described, to here? What was the journey like during the college chapter socially?
Uh, the 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 mercy of the Lord. Uh,
Amen.
um, I I had really I had really kind of come out of my shell senior year of high school, to the point where on like I was on the paint crew, the guys that paint themselves, like
Yeah.
PHS and all that sort of
So
stuff.
you
I
had
was
like
on
a letter on your chest, like
yes, yes,
yeah,
yes.
you were
Le I
you in SLU maybe or something
Yeah,
like
right,
that?
right. So I like I came out of my shell a lot senior year of high school. Ran for class president, didn't get it, whatever. But like just to give kind of
Yeah.
the Timmy that came
But wow, I mean,
into
yeah, to go from bullied
yeah,
isolationist to running for the president of the school, wow, that's impressive.
it was a mercy of the Lord. With the understanding that I had and the new kind of perception and such, it really helped me to kind of take things in stride more and not feel so victimized, I suppose,
Right.
and helpless, because these things happen for a reason, and I may not necessarily like it, but it happened.
Mhm.
That's the way it is sometimes. Uh, but then so I get into college and I mm, I go to the computer science department, which is like a already already way ahead of the curve because
Yeah.
I'll contain myself with the stereotypes here, but you know uh,
So
the
it sounds like
stereotypes
it
of what
lived up to your
programmers.
expectations?
Yeah, 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 yeah. It was very funny. Um, the computer science department at Southeastern is absolutely fabulous.
Mhm.
There's the staff is so great, and they sincerely care about their students a lot, and they want to see them succeed. And they, Southeastern's a smaller university compared to something like LSU. And so like you're able to have a more personal relationship with a lot of your professors and whatnot. And so and also like you kn- you teach, right? Yeah, you teach at LSU sometimes
I
at
do. I teach 2 classes a year at the law school. I
yeah,
teach
so
trial
so
advocacy in the summer and client communication in the winter.
yeah, so how lovely it is to just have a student participate in class. Just you ask a
Absolutely.
question and
Mhm.
you actually get a response back. You didn't just talk to the wall for an hour.
Yeah, and the
Um,
thing about my classes are they're both pass fail, so I don't even have the
uh-huh.
threat to flunk them out. It's really tough sometimes to get participation.
Yeah. So like uh I I was a lot more outgoing in college and whatnot, participated in class a lot more and such. Um and didn't was active at First Baptist at that time, participating in the college and career class with Brother Nick and things like that. Um, and I met Harley, my wife,
Mm-hmm.
while I was getting my master's.
Okay. So if you don't
Actually, no,
mind,
that's a lie. That's a lie.
oh,
Yeah, go
okay.
ahead. Yeah, it
No,
was
no, no.
before my
Please get the
undergrad, but
truth out there. I don't want to
yeah,
get you
yeah,
in
yeah, yeah.
trouble. This is a
No, it
story you
was
got to get
before.
right.
Yeah, right. Don't ask me the dates, but
No, of course not.
uh, no, we met my senior year, my last
Okay.
semester. So forgive me. Go ahead.
No, no, no. So tell us how does that develop? Because we all know the kind of happy ending,
Yeah.
happy marriage, 2 kids. But how did you get up the courage to ask her out, or how did that work? What's the meet
Sure.
cute, if you will?
So, um, before I had met Harley, I'd only been in one relationship prior. We dated for about 2.5 years and broke up in college, and it was difficult for me. And I was single for about between 2 and 3 years. Um, and had pretty much determined like I'm just gonna be single forever. I'm a weirdo, whatever. I'm not good in relationships, whatever that sort of thing. Um, and Harley showed up to church one Sunday with her friend who had brought her um, to the college and career class. It was both of their first day at that class, and but Harley came to Sunday school, and class went on as normal. I participated, answered questions and whatnot, discussion, and at the end of the class, we had a bunch of new people that had come that day, so we went out to lunch afterwards, and we
Mhm.
talked. Like Harley and I talked a little bit then. I didn't know her at all, right? So I thought she was really pretty, but like, there's no way she's gonna go for some dummy like me. She must have a boyfriend already.
Yeah,
Uh,
you're like a girl like that's born with a
right,
boyfriend, right?
right, exactly. So like, she's too good for me, whatever, all that. So I had already given up,
Sounds like
right?
you really had a lot of positive stuff going on in
I
your head at this
We
time,
talked
right?
about the self-deprecation earlier, right?
Yeah,
And how
yeah.
I said that wasn't the best actual solution, but it, yeah. So uh, I had convinced myself she had a boyfriend or wasn't interested in me. She was interested in one of the other 5 or 6 guys that was
Yeah,
in the
so
class.
you're positioned at like a she's out of your league
Yeah,
scenario.
right.
Is that it? The gist of it?
So that's
Or
how I
taken?
that was how I perceived it, and
Uh-huh.
she told me this after we started dating, but she told me that after that first day, she had talked to her friend that had brought her, and they were both single, and so they were girls were talking. They were like, who did you like? Was there anyone in there that you liked? And
Yeah.
Harley looked at her and she said, well, I think I'm gonna marry Timmy. And
What?
I was like,
Oh my gosh.
and
So wait,
I didn't
God,
pick up on any.
before we proceed with the story,
Yeah,
guys, let's just unpack that sometimes because we can all get negative and
yeah,
like you, I had this, college relationship that just devastated me when it broke up, and we can all get in a negative headspace. And
yeah,
that's how different the two narratives can be. You're over here like, I'm not good enough.
right.
She's too good for me. And she's over here like, I'm gonna marry that boy. Like,
Yeah,
wow, that's just great.
it's it was so funny. I laughed whenever she
That's
said that.
fantastic.
And she was bold because we were only dating. So if I was any other guy, that might have scared me off, right?
Oh yeah,
But
no, that's true. Well, how did it get from that? So we're back in the
yeah,
headspace here era.
yeah,
She's
yeah, yeah,
debriefing her friend on who she
yeah,
likes. You're over here flying solo, just thinking in your head these things.
yeah.
How do y'all get to an actual date and in a relationship?
She So like I mentioned, I was really kind of closed off and
Uh-huh.
had already kind of written it off like she's not interested in me. She worked and clawed and opened the heart up. She was persistent. She
That's
came
great.
every Sunday after that. She pursued me. It was
Wow.
really funny.
That's great,
Um,
man. Good for you. Your boy's
uh,
got game,
yeah,
folks. He came
right,
a long
sure,
way from those
yeah,
early years.
yeah.
That's
Uh,
just great. Well, she's a wonderful woman. I've
she
enjoyed
is.
getting to know y'all. We have a lot in common in that we're both married to
Hmm.
beautiful women who work in education.
Hmm.
And your wife's been in the Livingston system. My
Hmm.
wife used to work in the Livingston system. And I just see what a good mama she is to those little
Hmm.
girls that you have. So that's a really cool story. I had no
Yeah,
idea it started that way, but
yeah,
but that's really neat. So the two of you, obviously, you get serious, you start dating. Tell us about kind of the next chapter of life, because around this time, Lockheed Martin, this
hmm,
giant multinational corporation, comes
yeah.
into your life. I don't think a lot of people. So, if you don't mind, let me shift
Sure,
gears to that real quick.
sure, sure, sure.
I learned as a young man about Lockheed and Ponchatoula. Back then, they said the physical office,
Yeah,
and I learned that all these people who were like fixtures in my life,
yeah,
um, you know, were working there. And
yeah.
I learned all this when my friend Brandon Perrin, your
Right.
colleague, went to
Yep.
work there. But it was
He
like,
still
holy
does.
crap, you can get a major league job like that in
Yeah,
Ponchatoula. And they're
yeah.
like, oh yeah, the
It's across
Perrins
from the
and
feed and
Thompsons
seed.
and all these guys have been there. Ben Richardson goes there.
Yeah.
So how did you become aware of this, and how did you get your foot in the door and get this great career that you have now?
So the most direct relation was my friend Connor Rayford, who got hired there while we were still in school. Connor was like a year above
Okay.
me, but we're really good friends. I was a groomsman in his wedding. He was a groomsman in mine. And he got hired on there like his senior year, was working under Evelyn Thompson. And um, he,
And what a sweet lady she is. I mean, she was.
she
I
is,
I know from Brandon and Ben and all what a fantastic leader she was. But
yeah,
as a guy who spent the night at her house growing up and was friends
yeah,
with her son Artie, just a fantastic family.
oh,
But
yeah.
as a woman, she does it all, man. What a great lady.
Oh, yeah. She's a sweetheart. She hired me, so I love her,
Yeah.
and she promoted me, so I love her even more. So, um, Connor got hired, and he was telling me about it, and he was working in the field that I do now, and he was telling me about it, and I told him, let me know if something like that opens up. I wasn't holding my breath because I was like, it's a
Right.
town and it's a job in Ponchatoula. If something like that opens up, I'm sure there will be other applicants. And again, that real positive self-talk, right? Um, uh, but so Connor was working, and in that time, I then realized Brandon Perrin, who lives across the street from my parents, who I've grown up across the street
Yeah.
from, also worked there. And
And
Evelyn,
he's, by the way, I just in case you don't know, he's Uncle Duke to my boys.
oh,
He's
okay,
godfather to my son Luke, and he and I were in the same class, K through
oh,
12.
okay,
Grew up together, known him my whole life. But he got into Western stuff. He's now one half of the Cricket
the
Farmers, a
Cricket
famous
Farmers, yeah.
band that you're familiar with.
Oh,
But
yes.
I didn't know if you know he has an alter ego as Uncle Duke, which is a play on John Wayne, who he
Oh,
he
okay,
fancies himself as being some kind of successor to. But
I
fantastic
could see
guy,
that.
great guy, and so what a blessing it
Oh,
must
yeah.
be to work with him.
Oh, yeah. He's great. And Evelyn lived around the corner from me.
Yeah.
I didn't know Evelyn very well. Turns out she taught my dad whenever he was in school.
Oh, wow.
Um,
What a twist.
so back in 8th grade, um, so at St. Joseph's, and so she had quite the career pivot as well.
Yeah.
But so eventually, Connor, there was a position open. Connor let me know, and I applied for it. Connor helped. Brandon wasn't too involved. I wasn't really interviewing for Brandon's team, but Connor vouched for me. Evelyn knew of me, knew
What
my
about
parents.
Sandra? Was she in the mix, or was she
She
on a different
she was
Sandra
on
Karen?
Brandon's team.
Hutchins. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. She was on Brandon's team. I didn't like I worked alongside her, but not like we
Gotcha.
shared a manager, but different teams.
Okay.
Um, and but yeah, she was there whenever I started. She's since retired. Um,
Wait, but
but
also
it,
retired to the neighborhood. She's about a
yeah,
block from your parents, probably
I
a
know.
block from you and a block from Miss Evelyn,
Yeah,
kinda.
we walk by her house every time we go to the
Yeah.
park. Um,
She built that beautiful home on 7th Street. That's
yeah,
wonderful for the neighborhood.
yeah, and so she this was an instance where networking and knowing people really helped tremendously.
Right.
Um, uh, I because I knew Connor, I was able to um, I knew when the job posted, and then he gave me a little bit of insight into like what they are looking for, like what do
Mhm.
they what technology do they use and that sort of stuff. And so then I went and built a whole bunch of stuff using it so that I could be familiar with the interview
Yeah.
that Ben Richardson led.
Yeah.
Um,
So Ben, speaking of godfathers, he's godfather to my other son, James, but also a brilliant computer guy who works with you.
a
So I guess
wizard.
what I'm hearing here is even at a giant company like a multi-billion-dollar company like
Hmm.
Lockheed, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Now, of course, you have to have the what you know down pat.
Yeah,
If you're not a high grades, right degree, right skill
yeah,
set guy, that those are table stakes.
right,
But what actually gets you the job is knowing people and them knowing what you're capable of, and your not just your capabilities but your
right,
character. That's a great
right.
lesson to take away because I think we all get that when small businesses. I'm about to start the summer intern program. Well, heck, Brandon Parent's son just went to work for me, and
Oh,
you
okay,
see a lot of that kind of local flavor. This
right,
guy or that gal, and I know their mama, their daddy, their grandma,
right.
whatever. But it's somehow people don't always put the pieces together. That it makes sense for mom and pop's places like the Parker Layrisson law firm, but it also matters at multinational corporations.
Yeah, yeah. Who the best way to summarize it, I think, is that who you know will get you the interview. Because
Yeah.
there's just so much HR nowadays. There's so much
Yeah.
automated. I work in it. I make automations. There's so many automated filters and whatnot.
Yeah.
That if your resume isn't just right or
Right.
whatever, it'll just get filtered out and they'll never know you applied.
But it
Um,
underscores the point you made earlier about how you're not trying to replace people.
mhm,
You're just trying to elevate them.
yeah.
The what can scan a resume and put
Hmm.
together a matrix based on grades and schools and talents and
Yeah.
whatnot. But a computer can't replace that that vouch
Right.
for effect of this guy's good people. If you hire
Yeah.
him, you're going to get A, B, C, and D.
Yeah.
There's a human element there that I don't think a
Yeah.
computer is
At
capable of. Yeah.
least at least give this guy an interview. Give him a
Yeah.
shot. Take
Yeah.
look at his resume, right?
Yeah.
If you can at least see the resume, then hopefully the resume speaks for itself,
Well, let me ask
depending
you a
on the
question while on the
uh-huh.
topic of your career, because I
Sure.
know that although you're young and you alluded to this, you've been promoted several times.
Mhm.
You're recruiting for leadership. I think, as I understand it, teams are kind of,
Mhm.
if,
Mhm.
if not fighting on you over you,
Mhm.
by different teams,
Mhm.
you're in demand. Let's put it that
Sure.
way. I don't want to mess up your corporate
Sure,
politics,
sure, sure.
but if we were just to summarize it to say, okay, you've been very successful in this competitive field,
Mhm.
again, circling back to this advice component. Imagine there's some kid, some
Mhm.
18-year-old kid like you were when you walked into Southeastern, and they're kind of like, hey, I want to be like you one day. Or
Mhm.
how do I get on with Lockheed? Or how do I get on with a
Mhm.
big similar, you know,
Yeah.
what advice would you give to somebody who's looking to succeed in a way that you have?
One thing that Southeastern did really well, there's a lot they did really well, but the computer science department did really well was they made a big emphasis about networking. They said, "Look,
Right.
you're a bunch of computer science nerds. I know y'all are awkward, but you have to go out there and talk to people." Um, and so, like, they provided every opportunity for
Right.
us to get our names out there, um, network with potential companies and whatnot. There's job fairs. There's like 2 job fairs every semester at Southeastern. One is like a general one. One is for just tech. Um, and so and the department would invite people from the industry to come and watch like the final presentations for the graduating seniors and like the sophomores and whatnot. So like, and they could help with providing a reference whenever it came time for those job fairs for like internships and full time upon graduating and whatnot. So, um, my advice is it, get a network going. LinkedIn is annoying, but it's useful.
Yeah.
Uh, Build your network, get comfortable talking to people, get
Mhm.
comfortable presenting in front of people. That's a rarity. That's becoming an increasing rarity these days.
Right.
Um, and then whenever it comes time to actually do like the interview process and whatnot, uh, reach out to somebody if on LinkedIn that works in the job that or in the company that you want to work at or works in a role like you want to do, and ask them for advice like, hey, what can I do to prepare, like
Yeah.
what can I put on my resume, what technologies are popular right now that I might could build specifically for tech, right? But like you could
Right.
um, learn the skills that are in demand and then tailor your resume and whatnot to accommodate that. um,
That's great advice. I mean, yeah, I think that works whether we're talking tech, what you do,
mhm,
or we could be talking law or
mhm,
finance or anything else. I think that would apply across the board. Those
yeah.
are great skills. I want to bring in another comment here. We've been talking a lot about the neighborhood lately, and Mr. Lloyd Barrios,
Oh,
one
that's
of the
funny.
finer folks in the neighborhood, with somebody you'll often see out walking his
Yeah, yeah.
dog. He says he loves the podcast. Mr. Lloyd, thank you for tuning in. We just love you and Miss Cheryl and your beautiful dog. You and Timmy share something in common. You each have two beautiful daughters,
Mhm.
so you can give him advice on how to raise them well, because
Yeah.
you guys have clearly succeeded in that regard. Timothy, I want to get close to landing this plane
Sure,
here,
sure,
because you have been very generous with your time, and and I've kept you much longer than I expected. But before we kind of get to a close, I do want to ask about your role in the church, because we
sure.
kind of, introduced earlier your kind of,
Mhm, mhm,
evolution, from mere, student and kid to where
mhm,
you are. You're a deacon. You're in leadership. You're teaching a Sunday school class.
mhm,
What does the church mean to you? Why do you do this? And two,
mhm.
what do you see as your future role at First Baptist Church, and with a larger faith?
So, why do I do this? I do this because I feel like this is an area that the Lord has gifted me and prepared me in ways to serve. Everyone is gifted differently. My glasses are crooked. Uh, Everyone is gifted differently. Some are meant to teach. Some are better at outreach. Some are better at performance, singing, worship, that sort of thing. Um, this is an area that I feel that the Lord has given me a the ability to serve. Right, I want to use my gift adequately, um, and I want to see the church. I want to see the church succeed, not just for the kingdom of heaven, but also because it's generally good for the community, right?
Hmm.
Having strong churches in the area and whatnot, um, Lord willing, has a positive impact uh, on the surrounding neighborhood. I know, like First Baptist is very active in the community. They do events all the time and
Absolutely.
stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Well, it's
Um,
like the cancer care ministry. Your mom
right,
volunteers with it. I
right,
volunteer with it. I don't know of any other church, certainly not locally, that's doing that.
right.
And there are plenty of churches doing great things. My friend Marshall Graves and his outreach ministry come immediately
Hmm,
to
hmm,
mind.
hmm, hmm.
And all of them have roles, but First Baptist Church is really stepping up, whether it's helping people that have been through. Wait, Marshall Graves, are you listening? As soon as I
Oh, that's
said
funny.
that, this post comes up. The great thing about God is there room for everyone with a heart, for Him to make an impact. Amen, brother. I
Amen.
couldn't have said it that well. Thank you for tuning in and for sharing that. But you're right. The church is doing a lot. And the other cool thing about the time and what I can imagine it makes it a particularly rewarding time to serve, is that the church is expanding
Hmm.
and focusing on young people. They're
Yes.
building this big building, and I know people. And it's not my place to steal Dr. Cranford's thunder,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
they're
yeah.
building this beautiful big building. And Marshall, who's basically the Archie Manning of Ponchatoula
Yeah.
basketball, will appreciate it. We'll have a half court gym in back, so there's basketball in there.
Yeah.
I know when folks saw us tear down the old gym, they might worry about
That
that.
was
But it's so much. I don't know the percentages, but I get the feeling based on the tour that I got
Mhm.
that it seems like it's easily 70% targeted toward youth and children and kids. And of
Right.
course, all the church and the adults will benefit too. But
Right.
is that an exciting element of being a deacon and a leader of the church at this time?
It is. I really am proud to be involved, because it is such a good thing. Um, uh, prior prior to me teaching the class, this segment of the population wasn't really served. It,
And
you
by
know,
that, you're talking about parents with
yeah,
young
parents
children,
with young
right?
children.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. If prior to like our class existing, if there was someone in our kind of demographic, they had to just kind of go fit in another class,
Yeah.
and that's better than nothing. But like, you might have been in a class with a bunch of people that were 60, 70, their
Well,
kids are already grown. And
I
I'm
can
not
see you
trying.
tiptoeing around this, and you're being kind to me as the old guy here.
No, 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 no,
I
no.
had a great teacher. The class I was in was
Yeah,
fantastic. Kevin
yeah,
Crevetto was a tremendous
yes,
leader
he's great.
and is a tremendous leader and just
Yeah,
a fantastic man. But you're right. I mean, it was done kind of, and if not strictly by age. I'm in there with people my age and older, and because I'm an old dad, I'm late to the
right.
party, kind of opposite of my pal Marshall, who has chimed in here. He'll be visiting
Come
our
on,
new
come on,
facility. We're
check us out.
excited about that. But you're right. So I've got all these folks. Kim Core comes to mind. Her daughter
Right.
Shelby's off to college. Her son will
Yeah,
soon be following suit.
yeah.
Wonderful people, but the issues are different when your kids are that age than when we join your group.
Right,
Kids are coming out of diapers and whatnot. So there are a few
right.
old timers like me in there, more young dads and moms like you, but the common through line is the children are similar ages,
Exactly.
and it really helps us to relate with what's going on in a way that I find incredible.
Right. And that is 100% my hope and my
Mhm.
intention for the class. I say it semi frequently in there, but like my number one priority for that Sunday school class is to provide an opportunity for community for people in our demographic, parents with young kids who otherwise don't always have a chance to get
Yeah.
out and talk to other people, or talk to people dealing with the same things that they're dealing with right now.
Well, speaking
Um,
of that demographic, if I may interrupt, you can see here a quote from Emily
you're too kind.
Joyner, Emily Allen Joyner. This is Miss
Yeah,
Vicky's daughter, who we kind of mentioned earlier. She says she's very thankful for our Sunday school class. Emily,
you're
thank
too
you for
kind.
tuning in. Please give Logan our best. But that you make a great example. If Emily's got something going, the kids got strep throat, or how
Hmm.
to deal with bullying, as you mentioned earlier,
Hmm.
or just whatever. There's a way to do that, and to do it rooted in the scripture, rooted
Hmm.
rooted in Christ's teachings,
Yeah,
so that we handle it the right way, because
yeah,
it's not just always about, do it this way that the world's telling you to.
right.
We got to get it right. I have been very grateful. You've been so generous with your time. It's time to kind of land the plane. So, if
Sure.
you will, I'm just going to ask you a final question. Is there
Yep.
anything else on your mind, on your heart, just anything else at all you want to share with our listeners and viewers before we go?
No, I mean, I think I kind of already, I already cried once on the stream, so I think I've put it all pretty much out
Yeah.
there. So
Well,
I
thank you for
appreciate
doing
you
that.
having me on.
It means a
Um,
lot. I can promise you I wouldn't have kept you this long if I wasn't enjoying this conversation. It's been one of
sure.
my best episodes so far.
You're
And
very
I think,
kind.
the reason for that is not just who you are as a great guy and great teacher, but the fact that you were willing to kind of dig deep and
Sure.
share some not so fun parts of your life, and I think
Sure.
that'll help guide others. And it's just so fun to see you every Sunday doing the good work that you do, man, because clearly you come into every class. I mean, you're really a scholar. You know, you could be
That's
getting
kind.
advanced theology degrees like your friend Nick, if that, if the Spirit so moves you,
Mhm.
but you don't, you don't restrict yourself to that. If the ladies
Mhm.
come in and they want to talk about something else, we kind of sit back and let them
Right.
figure that out. And same thing with the guys. But it's I
Yeah.
really enjoy the flexibility of your class and that rock solid foundation in Scripture. So thank you for that. So to our viewers, thank you all for tuning in, whether you're listening or watching. To our guest, Timothy Thibodaux, I'm very grateful for your time. Y'all have a great week, and we'll see you here next time. I think we have one, maybe two more episodes before we break for the summer. So thank you all for sticking with us here at Ponchatoula Live. Y'all take care.
Take it easy.